Okay, so Social Security Administrative Law Judges. Okay, so what my hope would be with these continual cases coming before you, that you would begin to feel sort of strange, and it would begin to seem a little bit odd that you're conducting based on the video that was posted to YouTube for us of how this goes, as if you're holding some sort of a court and you're wondering just whom it is that you're questioning, okay? And that you're asked to question people as to why they cannot work. And whom are you working for? Do you work for the United States government? And what is the framework of that government? Is that based on any papers that a group of people wrote up and suggested that people agree to live by those papers? And is anything mentioned in those papers in terms of God given rights, and that people are endowed by their Creator with certain rights that you cannot take away from them? You cannot alienate them from, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if a person is before you and says that they do not want to work, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something that's allowed under the framework of the government that you're working for? Is there anything in there that states that people have to work in order to have those rights, or their God given rights? Hopefully, that sort of thought process would begin to take place, in particular when you're looking at paperwork documents that where it's repeatedly written that a person cannot work because of Exodus 20:10 in Yahweh's Holy Bible, and other things such as her life situation, and that she wasn't working for pay before 2011, and how was she living at that time, and sort of how would she be expected to live. And if you want to be working for a government that is telling people they have to work, that that's some sort of a new policy where everyone has to work, or they have to have some sort of disability in which they're excused from working. And in terms of medical, from what I can see and what I read, you have to be sort of like 1 foot in the grave in order to be deemed too medically disabled to work. And in terms of mental health, that even with documentation from people that attended school and have been certified to be doing that type of work in the mental health field, that states that a person has post-traumatic stress disorder, and that things like homelessness are making it increasingly more difficult for her to have a existence here and having a happy mental health. And if you know about things like housing lists and how long it's taking people to get housing, and why doesn't she have a house, and what happened to her house, And why wasn't she given emergency housing when she had 6 minor children? And should a government be able to charge a person with said God told her, and that's neglect? Does that sort of make sense still in terms of the government that you work for? Okay, and we're assuming the laws that you've been entrusted to judge, that we have God given rights, but yet you can't say that God said something to you. Does that match up to anything in terms of your belief system? And if you want to get into now, it may sound as if a person is a little bit off, okay, is sort of like making you feel a little bit uncomfortable, like that mentally ill does sometimes to people. Um, why would this case be before you? And you know about things like deprogramming and propaganda and brainwashing and delusional thinking and denial induced delusions. And what does the word equality mean to you? And things like that. Are you feeling at all uncomfortable in terms of reading the paperwork for this case or having to question me or question others about why they cannot work? Does that feel strange or odd at all? If a nation is founded on the premise that all men are created equal, why are we having this discussion? Why are we having this hearing? Why are people not equal? And if it, and I guess it sort of goes into your personal beliefs. Are you feeling strange at all? Like you're appearing before anyone and asked if you believe in God or you believe in the government that you're working for and what you're being told you're supposed to be doing. Um, why would there be so many people who are applying for these benefits and saying that they either do not want to work or they cannot work? Um, are any of them feeling as if they have to sort of play the game and perhaps lie or exaggerate conditions that they have, as opposed to just telling you that a person cannot work because she has a belief in God's given laws and that it's now 2018 on the calendar and not 2010, and that that actually means something to her and it's not some arbitrary number and it's not a coincidence. And that a person has a belief system in which, in order for everyone to be equal, you can't even use money. And that after some period of time where people will not stop charging for things, how is a person supposed to live? And if you feel some sort of thing where you can't approve a disability claim, okay, because you feel that that wouldn't be honest as to what you're being given charge to do, would you still continue to work for that government? Like, say that you said, this is, something's not right here. This is the most effed up thing I've ever heard of. Um, Perhaps you've had people before you in the past who told you that they couldn't work because of God. Um, were those people denied, or were they given the Social Security supplemental income for them to live? Um, as opposed to people saying that they're bipolar or something. Would you need medical doctors to tell you that a person has a belief system that's contrary to you work, and that's how you live, and that's how you get things, that you work in these works? And again, what was my work before 2011? Was I not working by taking care of six-minded children in a home? Is that not work to you? Or is that work without pay? And that type of thing. Like, basically, how would you expect me to live here without that stipend? Um, and is it my job, my work, to have to continue to um, stay in a homeless shelter and just sit there until I pass on? Because what would be the reason for that? um, in terms of, that's not going to end the system. What's going to end the system is other people exiting the system. That's what's going to end the system. So, if you are a law judge, are you a lawyer or are you a judge? And this is what you do now. Why couldn't you actually petition the federal court in terms of any case that you wanted? Wouldn't it be a lot easier for lawyers and judges to do that? It say that you wanted to go, all right, this one's going to the federal court because say that you said something about women not getting pay, or you had something about a constitutional crisis. Couldn't you yourselves petition the court? If the person who has applied for these things is telling you repeatedly to do so, that you need to do something, couldn't you yourselves say that we have been interviewing these people and we're freaked out because why are we asking these people why they're not working when they have no other means to live? We're not in a world right now where people just move to land where no one lives, where there's no government, and then they just live freely. We don't have that. And it feels as if now that we've taken over all of the land on the planet and we control the food supply, and now we're telling people that they have to work or we're going to starve them, we're going to leave them naked, we're going to put them in prison, we're going to put them in these shelters, we're going to put them in mental hospitals. Like, what would you propose that a person do at that point? Because it does actually come down to you in terms of what's actually going on here. Because I'm not denying people things, and I'm particularly not denying people things by not working. So, in terms of your judging people now, what's the manner in which you're judging people? What are you judging people on? What are you basing that on? Are there some other made up laws that the people are not aware of in terms of their rights? Are people not showing up to these hearings daily asking about the Constitution? And how would we actually have liberty if you're forcing us to work? And how would we have life without food and water? So, is it unusual to you, as these administrative law judges, for people who don't have degrees? Some of them do, I'm sure, but people who don't have degrees from colleges and are not in the criminal justice system, they're not in the judicial branch of the government, they're not an advocacy group, they don't have nonprofits, asking you, what about the Constitution? How did we get to this point? That type of thing. How did we come up with this where everyone has to work or you have to have a disability? And then when you're claiming that you have a disability, you are still put on these holds, and that you are required to give all of these medical reports. Now, from the beginning with me, if I'm completely out of your system, how would I give to you medical reports? So if I was a person who completely believed in the given law and was completely submissive to Almighty God, as I believe Him to be, if that's my complete belief as an individual here, that that's the law and that's how I'm supposed to live. So in that belief system, there is no government, that I'm supposed to only refer to my Father, Almighty God, in terms of what the law is here and how I'm to live. And I sat in a room for upwards of 5 years by your time, okay? Because I was not collecting any money. I was not putting in for appeals for your Social Security. I did not have health insurance. I was not visiting doctors. I was not working. I was not getting eyeglasses. I was not going to the dentist. I was not shopping for clothing because I had no income. That I was purely surviving on minimal donations from other people who are not well of means themselves. And I was not taking trips. I was not riding in cars. I was not driving a car. I don't own any property. I literally sat in a room on a computer for upwards of 5 years. And my sort of sole goal in life is to get rid of the US government and to end a monetary system which I believe to be human slavery and not a choice and not liberty. And certainly not a life for most people, the majority of the people on this land piece right now. And I feel has led to the destruction of the family unit here and has made people horrifically unhappy. If that's my belief system, how would I even submit to you medical reports? And if that's another person's belief system, how would they do that? How would they even have documentation for you to prove a disability that we don't even believe we have? I don't feel that faith in God is a disability, but I'm appearing before you because this is the avenue that I've been led down. And I just want to know what you're doing with other people in these cases, as the DTA person was told at the appeal, which I stated in a previous video that we didn't do this with the food, but perhaps we did. That if you're turning away this case repeatedly, how many other cases are you turning away? And how many people are not even applied because that's their belief system? And your rights under this government that you're even working for are God given. They're not given by an attorney. They're not given by a psychiatrist. They're not given by a medical doctor. They're not given by people working at Social Security. They're not given by an administrative law judge. They're given by God Almighty. So, as this work of yours, I guess that I would just ask you to please keep that in mind when you're judging these cases, and whom exactly you're judging, and whom is feeding the people that you're judging the questions and answers to say to you. Okay? Thank you.